Hey gang, welcome to Bugbears and Brews. My name's Brian, and today we're recapping our Tomb of Annihilation campaign, Adventure 36. Now, this one we actually played a few weeks ago uh, because the 4th of July fell on a Wednesday. So we played actually the 1st of July, did it remotely online. Um, and then the 4th of July got away from me, because of 4th of July activities. And then I became sick, and so I didn't record. And I was just going to skip recording this, but talking with the players last night, they said, you know what, go ahead and record it. That'd be nice to see. And I am drinking, once again, the first homebrew that we have done in like a year and a half. So this is a honey wheat. Uh, I'm not sure how the carbonation is going to come out because we did keg it, but then my dad bottled this via like a little um, taking the tubing from the kegging and running it down into the bottle, and it seems like it did okay. So carbonation stayed. That's good because this has only been in the bottle for like a day, and I didn't expect it to do anything funky, but we never messed with this before. Um, so a little bit about this beer, real quick. I'm going to go on a little bit of a beer rant here. This is the very first beer that we ever, like the very first recipe I ever brewed was honey wheat. And so when we did a reset, we said let's go back to the very first one. As we progressed and we got through our brewing, we started doing more and more advanced stuff. But we got a infection somewhere in our equipment, and so we said, you know what? When we restart, let's just do a complete reset, do a kit 100% by how it's written out, and go from there. So this is a extract brew, partial brew, so not even a full boil. If you don't know brewing talk, I'm not going to worry about that, but it's a partial brew or partial boil. So what that means is you boil up like 3 gallons of water uh, and make your wort with that, and then you add water at the end to bring your full brew all together up to 5 gallons. Um, we boiled this pretty hard because we have a really nice Blinkman burner, and so it moves a lot of heat. And we burned off a little bit more beer than when we a little bit more liquid than we wanted to, condensing it a bit. So instead of going down to like the 2.5 gallon range, we actually went down to like a gallon and a half or somewhere right around there, really, really low. And I mention this because while I like the taste of this and it's very in line with what I expected, given what I've tasted with this one before, it does taste a little thin, and that's because we had to cut it back down with 3.5 gallons of water. Our ABV on this guy, I think, clocked in at like 4.7-ish, which is great. It's a nice summertime guy, lower in alcohol, that kind of stuff there. But it just doesn't have that little bit of a denser, weedy mouthfeel. It's not bad, but that's one thing we just should have realized with the kick-ass burner now, as opposed to doing it like on a stove like we did on the very first brew. There's some differences there. The other thing that I'm going to kind of knock a little bit, and this is just me being a snob, is we used packet yeast, which there's nothing wrong with packet yeast, but I think we used a Hefeweizen yeast because this is a little banana-y for a wheat beer. Granted, Hefeweizens are wheat beers, but like to me, it's a little bit more on the Hefe side versus like a traditional wheat beer. Then again, first time brewing in a year and a half, and if it tastes this good going in, it's only going to get better. We're going to be going back to brewing about once a month is what we're going to try to do. We're going to try to always keep a keg going. We have 2 3-gallon kegs and 2 5-gallon kegs. We're going to try to keep 5-gallon keg in rotation, split between us, which is why we have 3 gallons. We have the second 5 gallons as backup. At the moment, I don't have my keg here, though, because I don't have something to keep it cold, so it's sitting over at my dad's house for the moment, hence I have this, but I'm looking into storage options because my kegerator crapped out. Okay, moving on to the game. I'm going to get shit wrong because this was like 2.5, 3 weeks ago, but let's give it a go. So we had in this, we had Psy, we had... I'm not even going to try to name the players. Well, no, we had Psy, we had Navarre, we had Ildrix, and we had Thessalon. I think that is it. Yes, that's it. No, Salazar played as well. Yes, Salazar played as well. Mark. No, Salazar didn't. It's just the four of us. That's right, because he wanted to sit out. That's right. It's just the four of us. Bam. Got it. We're good. So you guys start off in this big gear room. You guys had a demon hanging out in front of you, a devil hanging out in front of you, and you guys actually made pretty quick work with them. It's because that was a hangover from the previous fight. You guys kind of already had them worked out a little bit. So with this, the Barbed Devil, was it? Or Bone Devil? I forget which one. I was expecting it to be a little bit more oomphy. And he really wasn't that great. I don't recall the specifics behind it. I think it dealt a lot with some smite action going on Tim's side with Ildrix. But it made pretty short work of it. Going on from there, you guys headed down this hallway. There's all sorts of gears thrown about, mechanical tidbits, levers, chains, this kind of stuff, just kind of laying on the ground, strewn about, not really cared for. And at the end of this hallway, you see this big glass doorway, and you can see into this, and there's all these mechanical contraptions going on, really big drive shafts, like pistons, gears, the whole shebang. And looking at it, through some observation, you deduce a couple things. First thing, this was being worked by a bunch of Modern. Modern are kind of neutral, so you're not quite sure how they would act to you guys going in there. I'm going to take another drink of delicious beer. So the Modern, you weren't quite sure how they'd react to you. However, they were kind of being driven by this master Modern that didn't seem to give off a good vibe to you guys. Additionally, there was a portal, nexus, whatever you want to call it, in flux in there. And you guys said, that shit can fuck you up if you got in there. Let's not mess with it. Additionally, you guys kind of got the idea that this was a whole drive mechanism for the for a lot of the major traps in the tomb. You guys thought about it for just a minute, maybe going in there messing stuff up. You know what? We're done with the traps. Let's not mess with this. There's a chance we can get with that Nexus, and that just wouldn't be good. Followed by who knows what with the Modern. Let's just skip this and go down to the next level, which is what you did. Entering the next level, the room was filled with this billowy green smoke. You could see like a little outline of a cage. You could see just on the far end a cauldron. There's balconies over on each side. And you guys immediately walk up to the cauldron, find a lid, put it over. The smoke dissipates. You look over in the cage, and there is this, we'll call it a broken creature. Very crippled, very frail looking, but it looks a very awful lot like Navarre, to the point where Navarre really did not like it. As he's examining this creature, the creature kind of talks a little bit here and there. It seems mentally aware, but emotionally and physically just shattered. It's not a perfect creature by any means. Like I said, really deformed, that kind of stuff going on there. Heading on, or not heading on, but as Navarre's checking this out, three little creatures came up to you guys. There was, we'll essentially call them dolls. Three dolls walked up to you. One of them was made of straw with like kind of voodoo-esque, pins sticking out of it, that kind of stuff there. One was made of clay with a featureless face. And the last one was like a half monkey, half unicycle in the lower part. And they talked to you. They could speak, and they let you guys know that you are in the home of the sisters. And they let you guys ask a little bit of information about them. The sisters, not the creatures. You actually didn't ask a whole lot about the creatures. The creatures let you know that they have been torturing the looky-like, is what they called it, to get information about your tactics, what's going on with you guys, what are your repertoires, where are you at in this area. And the creature confirmed that it knows everything that Navarre knows. It doesn't recognize or remember anything from before it was created, but he knows anything that Navarre picked up from since like being somewhere around in the Omu area to now, the creature recognizes. So interesting. Looking at the time, I will say this one's probably going to drag on a little bit. There's a lot of weird, fun shit that happened in this one. From there, what happened? Oh yeah, there's this big giant green door, and in the giant green door there are all sorts of shapes and skulls and that kind of stuff. And there's 5 geometric shapes. I forget the shapes off the top of my head here, but they match up, correspond to these skulls from the skeletons that you've been collecting. So you have these 5 skeletons with these weird shaped apparatus on the ends of their skulls, and there are matching patterns here. And the uh, the dolls let you know that those skulls are keys, and somehow stuff in the other rooms. There's rooms along the balcony. Stuff in the other rooms causes an entry or a keyhole to appear where you can insert the skull. So it gives you guys some clues on what to do. Ooh, forgive me. From there, I think we were done with that for the moment. We're like, let's go check out the other areas. You asked where the sisters were. They said the sisters aren't there. And you guys asked if there's anybody that can help you out with it. And they let you know that I forget the name I used, but the butler, they gave a butler type guy. He's around, but he's setting up for the feast. And you guys are like, okay, let's not mess with the feast because, dealing with something called the sisters in a very witch-like environment, hearing terms of feast in some sort of weird creature, doppelganger type, frail, imperfect creature. You don't want to know what a feast would frickin' contain. So you're going to stay away from that. Headed up, checked out a couple of the rooms. First room, there is all these swirling craziness going on with papers. A couple people try to reach in, no good. Get paper cuts. Navarre steps up, grabs a paper, looks at it. It's a scroll. Fantastic. He likes this. He's gonna go like money to cash grab type deal. He starts grabbing scrolls after scrolls after scrolls. He gets 3 of them, I think, all together, and that's when the paper just and inside with the papers. The papers just start flying all together, and they create some miffits. And the miffits were not normal miffits. These miffits had a little extra oomphy to them. And while they weren't very powerful, they did have some really big AoE spells that did some damage. And the most important takeaway of this is they said some word that I forgot. Bloat something, I remember that, to Sai. And Sai doubled his weight and put 100% of his weight on his fat. So now Sai is this big old monk whose name is now Wheeze, I think is what we're calling him, or Wheezy or something like that. I forget what the exact was. So Sai's big and blubbery now. Mechanically, there's no setbacks to it, but RP-wise, we had a little bit of fun with it. Heading into the next room there is this lectern, and there's this book glued to the lectern, and it's got 8 pages. The 8 pages are really, really thick pages to make it look like it's like a big, thick book. And as you're flipping through, the pages are in Abyssal, Infernal, I forget which one. You guys kind of read it, and you get like, yeah, I don't quite understand this. We'll come back to this one. I thought you guys were kind of going in the right direction with it, but you guys gave up on that one. And it comes back the next session that we played yesterday. It comes back and kind of plays with you guys there. Heading on over. Oh, shit. Sorry, I got ear infection still going on, so I'm going to be popping my ears quite a bit too. In the room with all the dust miffits, there was this kind of spectral lever. And so you guys tried to interact with the spectral lever, couldn't. Eventually, Thessalon blinked and went to the ethereal plane and was able to pull the spectral lever, and one of the slots on the big green door slid across, and so you can now insert a skull. As he was in the spectral or the ethereal plane, though, he saw 3 hags hanging around down by the cauldron, laughing up and chuckling. And I don't recall if No, he tried to run by him, but they noticed him and they started talking, and things were going to get ugly, he thought. And the hags, they really wanted the what's it called, the skulls that you guys collected. And here there's a bit of confusion meta wise. Tim thought I was talking about some sort of charm. Everybody else at the table realized what I was talking about, and so he willingly gave up the skulls, thinking he was giving up something else. And like, as soon as he did, like, everybody's eyes were like, "What did you just do? You gave away the keys to the door to the big bads." But he didn't want to get killed because he had a feeling that the things wouldn't have gone well if he wouldn't have given up. Anyway, he blinks back, ends his blink, tells you guys what's going on. And as he's telling you all this, Ildrix goes off into another room and starts thumbing through. There's this room. It's got a mirror, and in the blood it says "Piggy, Piggy, Piggy." And there is six candles, some odd candles, hanging about. And he lights off all but one of the candles and says "Piggy, Piggy, Piggy" in the mirror. And 3 wereboars pop out. The wereboars were not nice. They were very aggressive. They put a big hurting on you guys. Did they take Thessalon down, or did they take Navarre down? I forget which one. But one of you guys wound up going down during the fight. Once you started getting them down, though, like, the initial charge on them was really rough. And I think I crit once or twice in a row with one of them, and that kind of put a big hurting. But once you started whittling them down, they went down relatively quick. I wasn't expecting it to be a hard fight, but it was meant to kind of chunk you out, which it did its job. After that, Thessalon was just really frustrated. He thought he gave away the not Thessalon. Tim was I shouldn't say really frustrated. He thought he gave away the one thing and not the other thing, and so he had this charm that was Charm of the Ghoul or something like that, that allows you to eat the flesh of another humanoid and regain hit points. And so he took a big old bite of the wereboar's face, and he declared it to be a ham sandwich. Other people looked on with disgust, but it was well done. So, yeah, interesting. Navarre, as this is going on, he is not happy. The hags, because you guys deduced they're hags, have some sort of copy of Navarre sitting in a cage, and then the hags have all the keys, and they're hiding in another plane away from you guys, so you guys can't get to them. Navarre's like, "I'm gonna get these fucking hags out here. This is done. Let's. I can't stand this." He whips it out, walks over to the cauldron, starts pissing in it. The hags appear. We stop the episode, encounter, session, whatever you want to call it. Was a lot of fun. A lot of interesting different puzzles there. Combat was nothing. I didn't expect it to be hard, and it really wasn't. Like I said, it's just meant to kind of chunk down your resource a little bit for the hard fight that you're going to do next session, which I might go right into. I don't know. I might just talk about that one next while drinking this beer. Depends upon how I feel after this is done processing here. But all in all, it was fun. It was nice to see, like, Tim, not evil Tim, going and living up to his possession. He's possessed, and we talked about this at the game last night. His possession is that he never sticks to a plan, or he has a hard time sticking to a plan. I forget the exacts. And so as you guys are kind of talking and figuring things out, that's why he went over to the next room and was like, "Hey, let's see what's in here," and essentially started another encounter before you guys were ready. And then the ham sandwich, I think that was fucking funny. It was nice to see Don thrown a little off with Doppelvar. Yeah. So talk to you guys later. Bye.